What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ben and Walker Movie Show. I'm your co-host, Ben Davis, joined by my other co-host, Walker Holt, and we're excited to have a conversation with you about one of our favorite things in the world, John Deere letters and Freda Felcher from Cranston. Walker, what's up, man?
Oh, not too much. Getting ready for Christmas. It's really the season's starting to turn. I'm excited. We've been decorating, working on Christmas cards, Christmas gifts. We're hosting. It's uh it's hard to get in the movies for the pod because every time I sit down I always want to watch Christmas movies.
Right? It's hard. I'm trying to. There's so many movies I got to catch up on. I got to watch Wicked. I got to watch Red One, which is a Christmas movie, but I have to actually put forth the effort to go see a movie that I don't think looks that good, but I really want to see it because it has The Rock in it. So it's tough. Um,
Yeah, I
and
did.
there's
Yeah, it's
all
also
the
Oscar
Oscar
season.
movies
I
too.
know. I know.
Yeah, it,
It's tough.
it's so tough
I don't
when
think
you
I'm gonna
live in
make it
areas
red
that
one. Yeah.
understandable. Um, I here's the thing, it for Oscar season, it is insanely impossible for people like me and you to go see everything unless we travel to for you it'd be like Raleigh, and for
Yeah.
me it would be like I have to go to St. Louis. And
Yeah.
it's just it's too tough, man.
Yeah.
Too tough. So I don't.
As much as I diss on Regal, they have gotten a little better, not wide releases, but they have gotten a little better about um like at least doing a couple showings for some of the stuff. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
especially closer to the actual award show, they'll have like Oscars week or Oscars month where they'll put out a new one of the best picture contenders. But even for they won't get a long release, but they'll if you. But the issue is you have to pay attention. They don't market it or anything. You have to be the kind of guy
No.
who like checks the Regal app every week.
You have to be
And
pretty astute about it.
but it is nice that it's possible. It's nice. I got a quick glimpse at Nora. I got to see that. Um,
I'm jealous.
yeah, we live in time. That was a little wider. But it
Yeah, that didn't come here, unfortunately. It is available to stream now. I think well, I know We Live in Time is available to stream now. I know Conclave is available to stream now. But it's just by the time I'm trying to make my end of the year list, I don't finish like the Oscar stuff really until February
I
because it
know.
just
Yeah,
every
we
year.
were we were comparing lists the other day. I mean, our lists are both 30 plus long, and really, I've got a list of old school stuff that I haven't seen. I've never seen Matchstick Men, so I added that.
No,
A
that's a good
couple
one.
things that are just need to see them, and some rewatches. I'd really like to rewatch Moana before I watch Moana 2, but it's just too much. And every time I sit down, we want to watch. What did we watch last night? We watched the new TSA movie, The Carry On, with Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman.
Did he go,
Um,
"It's okay, I'm a limo driver," when he was in the movie?
no. Uh, the uh, but we've watched a bunch of them. We're starting to get into the inside the 10-day mark to where we can start hitting the classics though. The only classic I've really watched, well, I've seen Jim Carrey's Grinch. I've seen all three Grinches. Um,
I've been on a big Home Alone kick this year myself.
I haven't watched them yet. I'm gonna watch them maybe tonight. Um, we'll see. I kind
Zoe
of want to
finds them
rewatch. It's
pretty
a
funny.
Wonderful Life. It's been like 4 or 5 years since I've watched A Wonderful Life, so I kind of feel like I'm due
Yeah.
for a rewatch. That's always I mean, I always appreciate it when I watch it, but it's kind of a chore to sit down and all right, I'm gonna watch this long black. But
Yeah,
uh,
it's it's more because it's a Christmas movie, but
yeah,
it spans the life of this gentleman that doesn't just take place at Christmas. So it's hard. It's
yeah,
not like a real Christmas spirit kind of movie. It's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. It's just it's not a Christmassy movie.
yeah. I just can't imagine watching it any other time though.
Yeah,
Besides Christmas
it's the
season,
same.
I'm not gonna
Christmas is the
pop
best
down
time.
in the middle of summer and watch Wonderful Life.
I mean, you could. You could.
I won't though.
Yeah. But guys, as always, if this is your first time being here with us today, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest stuff that we have for you guys. Also, be sure to follow us on our socials at Ben and Walker Movie Show so you can, stay up to date with everything as well. Um, just follow us over on Twitter, or not. We're not on Twitter. Just follow us over on Threads, Instagram. So usually where we're very active, TikTok, all that stuff. And please make sure to comment on today's video as well to let us know what you guys think of Dumb and Dumber. Does it hold up? Where does it rank for you? Let us know. Do you agree with our takes on this? Probably not. Let us know why. Uh, we're really interested in hearing what our tens of listeners think. Today, we're discussing Dumb and Dumber, a film celebrating its 30th anniversary. Dumb and Dumber is directed by Peter Farrelly of the Farrelly brothers and stars Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, and Lauren Holly. If you aren't familiar with Dumb and Dumber, the plot synopsis reads like such, according to Google. And best friends, Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn, stumble across a suitcase full of money left behind in Harry's car by Mary Swanson. Swanson, who has who was on her way to the airport. The pair decide to go to Aspen, Colorado to return the money, unaware that it was connected to a kidnapping. As Harry and Lloyd, who has fallen in love with Mary, are pursued across the country by hired killers and police, they both find their friendship and their brains tested. So, when we look back on film and we talk about, the years in film, going back to like Oscars conversation that we just had, 1994 along with 1999 are widely recognized as the greatest year for movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
In 1994 in particular, you had like the indie boom with stuff like Pulp Fiction, the crown jewel of Disney's animation from their best era, The Lion King, and of course the crazy effects at the time with Forrest Gump, which made it look like he was talking to real life historical figures and in the scene with them. At the time, that was groundbreaking. I know that it's kind of gotten lost, that conversation, over the years, and we mostly focus on other aspects when it comes to Forrest Gump. But that at the time was pretty revolutionary. But despite all those facts, one could argue that between Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, that 1994 was really the year of Jim Carrey. Would you agree with that statement, Walker?
I absolutely would. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I agree with everything you said. I mean, I 1999, 1994 are the 2 years that come to mind immediately every time. I mean, I think there's a photo out there of a movie theater marquee in 1994 that's unbelievable of how many of what was in theaters at the same time. It's not even fair. Um, but yeah, Jim Carrey, man, people you think back on these eras of comedy, and our lifetime has probably been one of the best, especially our childhood and adolescent years were some of the best comedy years ever. And you think about these eras of Seth Rogen, you think about these eras of Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, and Jim Carrey is a
Mm-hmm.
a king amongst them. I mean, he's great. And with these 3 years coming out rolling like this, I mean, with these three movies in 1994 coming out like this, I mean, he was on top of the world.
Yeah, it's so rare for an actor, like generally speaking, for an actor to have a big hit, like an Ace Ventura. It is so rare. It's even more rare to have two with something like The Mask and Ace Ventura. It's I don't think anyone else has done this where they've had not one, not two, but three huge hits that still are talked about, 30 years later in the
Mm-hmm.
same breath like this. I don't think any other actor has done this. This just boomed his career because, like, he was in Living Color. He was in that. He was in the Deadpool, which was, I think it was the Deadpool with the Dirty Harry Clint Eastwood movie. He was also in another Clint Eastwood movie, I think, as well, and that like cheesy '80s comedy Once Bitten, the vampire movie.
Okay.
You remember
I haven't
that?
seen it, but
But like
mm-mm.
he wasn't a household name, but it was these three movies just catapulted him to legendary status almost immediately and just skyrocketed his career. It's unprecedented. And I can't think. I mean, maybe the closest you could probably get to would be Robert Downey Jr. when he had Iron Man and Tropic Thunder in 2008. Maybe.
Sure. Yeah, that's. I mean, what he did with these three movies was I didn't even. I mean, I was four, so obviously I wouldn't. But I
I was
had
just
no.
born. So,
I had no
like,
idea he was even until like doing research for the show. I had no idea that he came on the scene with these. He didn't become a household name. He somehow like was already a household name. Like he felt like someone in your living room immediately. He felt like he had been there for 20 years and he was the greatest comedy star of all time. You know, it and he was brand new. You know, he was brand new
yeah,
to the scene and fame, and it did not feel that way. He somehow felt like we had known him all our lives, type of thing.
yeah. And it seemed like, I mean, he stayed there. You look at this run that he had. Especially in the the mid to late '90s, early 2000s. It's pretty incredible. But going back to this trio of films in 1994, how would you rank these films? It's a question we always like to do in a game. We always like to do is we always send our each other rankings and stuff. So like,
Yeah,
how would you rank these three?
probably probably in the same order of how much I've seen each of them. So Dumb and Dumber being number one, I've seen it the most. Ace Ventura being number two, I've seen it the second most. And The Mask, I've seen it the least in bottom. But I do like all three.
I agree.
Um, it all it kind of felt. I don't, this is such a inside my head thing that probably no one else can relate to. It all Ace Ventura always felt like the I don't know. I had seen it less, and maybe I hadn't seen it for a while. Like I had seen Dumb and Dumber, but never saw Ace Ventura for a few years, and always felt like the edgier, cooler. Like, oh, the cool kids watch Ace Ventura. I just like Dumb and Dumber. I almost like a Nickelodeon Cartoon Network situation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
in the house, and when I finally watched Ace Ventura, it was like, oh, this is the best. But Dumb and Dumber has the staying power for me that's been excellent. Um, always. The
yeah.
Mask I've just seen the least.
This is a funny little sidetrack, but it was Christmas of 2004, one of my favorite Christmases. I woke up and we always got a movie each year, and I got three movies that year from Santa, and those movies
Mhm.
were Collateral with Tom Cruise,
Going.
Born Supremacy, Matt Damon,
Okay. Mhm.
Ace Ventura. And that Christmas, I just remember watching those three movies that are don't have anything in common at all, or just on repeat, just cycling through them.
Okay.
But yeah, going back to this question in particular, I think I agree with what how you rank them.
Hmm.
Dumb and Dumber number one. Um, yeah, Dumb and Dumber number one. Ace Ventura number two, and number three would be The Mask.
Mhm.
To me, it's funny you mentioned, Ace Ventura was like the edgy one, the cool one. For me, it was actually Dumb and Dumber was the edgy one and the cool one.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember staying with my grandparents. It was me and my three other siblings staying at my grandparents, and my aunt was with us, and they were showing Dumb and Dumber on TBS. Well, my
Mhm.
grandmother got super offended by Dumb and Dumber. Um, my grandmother got super offended by Dumb and Dumber and made us turn it off. And I remember, like, I didn't see it for years until I saw it at my uncle's house, and me and my brother were there, and we just took it and we watched it. And our uncle ended up coming in and watching it with us. He had like a big screen TV at the time, but it felt edgy because of that, for that reason. Um, and that was kind of the cool factor around it, but also it's just, you know, like Dumb and Dumber is like the funniest. It is still is it, to me is the funniest movie of all time. It is my favorite comedy ever. How I rank my comedies is number one is, or in no particular order. Like my three favorite comedies are Dumb and Dumber, 21 Jump Street, Step Brothers. Like those are the three comedies that I could sit down and watch, and there's a laugh a minute. It's just nonstop freaking hilarity, um, endlessly quotable, and just so much fun to sit down and watch and enjoy. And that's why, like, to me, this is, as much as I love Ace Ventura, as much as I love The Mask, and I watch those movies and I've seen them a lot, and they've often come up on movies that, like, when I recycle through movies that I rewatch constantly that are like comfort movies that I have on in the background. Dumb and Dumber just takes the cake. Like I sat
Yeah.
down, I popped it in to watch it last night, and it was just a laugh a minute. And it's just, you saw it when, like, I sent you the list of like favorite scenes and moments. It was in the 40s. Like it's just insane. It's
Yeah.
just, it's such a great movie. And I
Yeah.
love it so much. So to me, that's why I would rank it number one. But a bigger question: how would you rank this movie amongst all of Jim Carrey's films?
I mean, obviously, it's a tough question. It certainly has an argument to be number one, and it might be number
No.
one for me. I mean, you know, I have a soft spot. I grew up. I was a child in the '90s, and a lot of these were like Liar Liar. At one point, I don't think Liar Liar is a better movie than Dumb and Dumber, by any stretch. But
No.
like at some points in the '90s, Liar Liar was one of my favorite movies. I thought it was hysterical. It really hit with me. I mean, The Grinch. I'm not. The Grinch is excellent. I think it's great. And you know what? I watched it last year and thought it didn't
One of
hold
the
up as
greatest
well.
performances ever.
Really is, and he really goes for it. Uh, the Truman Show, I think, is kind of underrated. I think it's an awesome movie, cool concept, and well executed, and one of Jim Carrey's more interesting, stretchier roles. Early on, like, I mean, not quite as goofy. A little more.
Serious.
Yeah. A lot of these things. I think about Me, Myself, and Irene a lot. I don't think that movie's that great, but I do think about it a lot for some
God, that
reason. There's
movie's so
scenes in it
funny.
that
That
came out at a time. That was one of these movies that was like rated R that I saw when I was like 10 or 11 that like I probably shouldn't have seen quite yet, and like a lot of it stuck with me.
yeah.
And for however old I was, it was edgy. Um,
It's
I
still
probably.
like, it's still super edgy. Like that movie has some like stuff in it that's like, oh my god, I can't believe they got by with that.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna stick with Dumb and Dumber being number one. I mean, I think it probably holds up the most. You said a lot of words just a second ago that were, well, like when I was planning on what I was gonna say about the movie, you took them out of my mouth. I mean, like a joke a minute,
Sorry.
uh, joke a minute. I said that to myself 5 times last night. I was like, it's nonstop. And then when you send a list of 40,
Nonstop.
I certainly understand why it's tough to narrow it down because and I'll get into this more later, but it's not the 10 best scenes and moments. The best part of this movie is that it's relentless, that it's nonstop. The gags are funny and they're memorable, but that's not the best part of this movie. The best part of this movie is that it never like slows down and it's funny every minute. So it is tough to narrow it down, and I certainly understand that. And even when we come up with 10 best scenes and moments that are actual bits, we're missing it. We're not doing it justice. So I certainly
No.
understand.
And we're
Um,
we're gonna, limiting it to 10 was so difficult, but it's also like you said, I couldn't have said it better. The thing that makes it work so well is exactly why you said it works so well. It's just, it's relentless. It's nonstop. You know, going back to
it's
another Jim Carrey movie. It's relentless. Yeah.
yeah, it's either this or the sequel. One of those are probably the best movie of his career, I would think. Whichever one you pick.
Dumb and Dumber 2. I will say Dumb and Dumber 2 does have some bits in it that I thought were pretty damn funny. But I will say, like, for me, when I look at Jim Carrey's filmography, this is number one, I think. But The Grinch, I truly think is super underrated, in particular his performance. That, sadness, that underneath sadness that he has and carries with him, that he's able to like bring forth, and kind of mask with this comedy is very, very touching. It's a very touching performance, and I think it got overlooked. He's a really good dramatic actor. You mentioned The Truman Show. That's an incredible movie. Eternal
Yeah,
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, another great
yeah,
one.
I should have mentioned that.
Jim and Andy goes into Man on the Moon, which is a really good movie, but it just goes to show you the lengths that he was willing to go to as an actor. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's had a really interesting career post Man on the Moon. Um,
Yeah, it's not been. I was looking at it earlier, and I don't love. I might be being curmudgeon-y, but I don't love a lot of it after his like. I mean, after Eternal Sunshine, basically. I mean, and like the Grinch era. I mean, Fun with Dick and Jane was a good time. I did like Yes Man. I guess after Yes Man, because after that, I don't love like what he's doing. Didn't he retire and be like, I'd only come out of retirement for something really special, and then he's done 3 Sonic movies?
well, I mean, he's really good in the Sonic movies, man. Like he's so freaking funny in those movies. Like those movies should not be good, but they're good. I don't know what to say, but like Bruce Almighty is another really, really good one as well. That movie's hilarious,
Yeah,
and
that
also
one
pretty touching too.
is that in the same unit. I don't know that era of movies. I
It's
didn't like.
2003. Bruce Almighty was 2003.
Yeah, and what was the other one that he's not in that I felt like was like the same movie, and I don't really understand the difference of them.
Evan
Yeah,
Almighty.
are they're in the same universe?
Yes, they are. Because you had Evan
Okay.
Baxter. He was like Evan Baxter rather.
That's Steve Carell.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
I've only seen those like pieces of those, but okay.
But yeah, when you look at his entire filmography, I think it's Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
But one of the many reasons why this movie works so well is also because of Jeff Daniels, who wasn't really known for comedy at the time, and he was the perfect choice for Harry. What do you think? What do you think made him so perfect for this?
He's he's got. I mean, he just has the timing. I think he's good. He went for it. He lets himself be a complete idiot in this movie. And it feels authentic. Like one of the scenes that stuck out to me the most. I mean, this isn't like a best scene or anything like that to me, but in the diner when he's laughing at Jim Carrey saying "Flo," excuse me, Flo, and then he's just like, I mean, he's just so
Yeah,
funny.
he
Like
goes
he just like, I
like
feel like
that.
he's really like laughing at it. Yeah, I think that's funny. Now I'm not as familiar with his work pre this. I mean, I saw Speed, but I'd never seen Terms of Endearment. I know that's a big one, but uh,
Arachnophobia.
mm-mm. I mean, maybe I've
Um,
seen it from maybe I've seen it on TV or something, but
I
I
can't
don't really
remember.
know his
I
work
can't remember
beforehand.
if I can't remember if that was before or after Arachnophobia. I can't remember,
It was
but
Arachnophobia was before Dumb and Dumber, but and since then, he's so smart. I mean, he plays a lot of smart characters, but I don't think you can play him unless you're a legitimately intelligent person. And I also don't think you necessarily can be a very good comedy actor unless you're a pretty intelligent person. So that's
you
coming
know,
through quite clear. I mean, like he did, Newsroom is something he's done since that has gotten a lot of hate. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, but I'm kind of a
he
sucker for
won.
that.
He won the Emmy for that,
I know.
didn't
I
he?
just feel like maybe I don't know, but I just feel like in the there's a lot of spheres that get a lot of
Yeah,
like diss it and stuff. But I'm a sucker for like the Sorkin like witty little dialogue, so I
good
enjoyed it.
dialogue.
Also like
Yeah.
Steve Jobs. I don't know if it's Jobs or Steve Jobs, but the Fassbender one. Um, and he talks quick. it does a good job at it.
Jobs. I think it would be
Yeah,
jobs.
he's also great, like boss, like like I don't know, like The Martian or like maybe Speed. I don't know, like a guy just telling you the way it is. I don't know. He's a good character actor and he's a good lead and he's smart and I think he just has great
It's a lot like
timing. I
Kyle
don't.
Chandler, where he's just very like when those scenes come up where like they have to. It's a quiet intensity where
Yeah,
it's not like very like operatic or in your face. It's just here's the deal. Here's what's going on. Here's what you need to know. Here's how it is. Like that he's very, very, very good at that. Like
mm-hmm.
channeling that like inner like this is the deal. I mean that was it that speech? Is it Newsroom where he has that big speech
But America.
talking about is America? Yeah, about America.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know that people talk about that scene often.
yeah. It's like
Um,
the
but
opening line of the show.
yeah, um, I think when you look at why he works so well in this movie is a lot of what we're talking about. I'm pretty sure he's a Juilliard trained actor.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure. And usually those actors are really good. I mean, Robin Williams, Christopher Reeve, Adam Driver, several others, that are just Juilliard trained actors that are just next level incredible. And he's very, very good without having to be in your face about it. He just embodies a role. But I think he plays off of Jim Carrey so well. And he
Yeah,
play like you said, he plays into it, and that's what makes it work so well to where he doesn't try to upstage Jim Carrey. It's more of a yes and. It's not a
I agree.
and then this happens, it's a yes and it makes it so much better. And they're both, I mean, as the title would suggest, dumb and dumber. Um, I would I would say Harry is more of like just the aloof type, where he's just aloof. I don't think he's necessarily dumb. He's just yeah, he's kind of dumb, but like,
Yeah.
it's
So
different.
you're saying another thing exactly how I wanted to say it. That you know, a lot of it's the performances, but the script too. I mean, it's not. They don't overdo it. I mean, they're idiots, and
Yes.
it's over. The movie's over the top intentionally, but they don't go too far. They don't.
Hmm.
There's moments where one of them maybe it changes between them. Like when Lloyd can't read, like they Harry can read.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He
Like we don't
to
need
have
both of them. Yeah, we don't need both of them to like have no idea what's going on. Like they can go back and forth, and I think it's probably leans more towards Harry being the straight man, but they can go back and forth where someone can come down to earth in the interaction. You know what I mean? To
yeah.
where to make it funny because they can get carried away and just be stupid. And they are occasionally, but for the most part, it's they reined it in a little by allowing them to not to have a clue.
Yeah. Well, I also like again, like you're saying, they don't. But one of the other one has at least a little bit of a grasp of what's going on in one scene or another. And I think, the difference here is that Harry is more aloof. Lloyd is just more overly confident for no reason, I think to overcompensate at times. Um,
Mhm.
and he's also a little bit meaner. Harry is a little bit sweeter. Uh, unless you throw a
Yeah.
snowball at him. But I just think that you're exactly right. The way their script is written is that they never step over the line, and they're also there is a sweetness to them that's like very earnest. It's not a very like not earnest. It's not just dumb for the sake of being dumb. There's some heart to these characters, which is why people have clung on to them for 30 years. They love these characters. It's why they wanted to see a sequel, and maybe the sequel didn't live up to some people's expectations, but still, people wanted to see these two actors side by side again. You know,
Yep.
And I think you're right. I think that's why it works so well. It's the yes and of it all. But this was the Fairley Brothers' first like big movie. It was their first movie actually, and they would go on to have like a pretty big run in like the mid to late '90s, early 2000s. What stands out to you about their run of films in this era?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you look at the list, um, it's nostalgic. It takes me back to a childhood of like R-rated comedy, and I guess they're not all R-rated, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
I mean, this was my from ages of 5 to 12 for most of these that I'm thinking about, and it was just movies like your parents would rent, but you weren't allowed to watch. Maybe your parents had friends over and they watch, and like, I mean, there's something about Mary was huge in my life. I mean, that was like
huge. Yeah,
people love that movie. I love that. I still like that movie. Um, and at the time, like Kingpin was big, and I remember that being great. Um, we just mentioned Me, Myself, and Irene. Even like Outside Providence, like those are the movies that like while it doesn't have a lot of staying power and it's not very memorable or anything like that, when it came out, it was just like, oh, there's another like edgy R-rated comedy. You know what I mean? And maybe,
Stuck on You is a big one that I remember.
yeah, that was a little. I haven't seen that, but maybe once or twice. But Shallow Hal, that was like a buy the DVD.
Yep.
Um, and then as you go on, I mean, we've got more movies that are. I mean, Fever Pitch is one of my wife's favorite movies, and I like it as well.
Actually, you're a Boston guy.
And yeah, um, it So it just it's reminiscent, nostalgic. I remember just a good era of comedies. That's what. But Dumb and Dumber and Something About Mary stand out to me as the best. But probably Dumb and Dumber. They
I
came out of the park swinging out of the
I think
gate.
the three that stand out to me is Dumb and Dumber. Obviously, is the number one, but Me, Myself, and Irene stands out, and so does Stuck on You. That was one of
Hmm.
those movies that was always on HBO, and I was homeschooled for 5 years from like 2004 to 2008. And during times when I was supposed to be doing school, oftentimes I would be watching HBO when no one was around, and I would turn on Stuck on You because that was always consistently on during that era.
Yeah.
So I watched that movie quite a lot, and I remember loving it a lot. And it's crazy to me to think that Peter Farley would go on to win. I think it was 2 Oscars. I think he won for the adapted screenplay for Green Book, as well as Best Picture for Green Book, which
Wow.
is up there with like Crash as being one of the more maligned Best Picture winners ever. Which
Right. Right.
yeah,
I like the movie though.
I
I
do.
mean, I
I do
think the
too.
movie's quite good, and I don't remember what did it beat out that wasn't fair, or
Well,
that
it
everyone bitched about.
beat out a lot of really top tier movies. It beat out like Black Klansman. It beat out A Star Is Born,
Okay.
Roma as well, which I don't like Roma. I'll go ahead and
I've never seen Roma.
it it's one of those movies it's beautifully made, but I just didn't connect with it at all. But I get why people are offended and upset that that movie won. I understand why. You'll get no arguments from me on that point. I do really like the movie though, um,
Yeah.
a lot, and the performances
Bohemian
are great.
Bohemian Rhapsody, Vice, The Favorite. I mean, that's a tough year. I mean, that year. I mean, I'm not saying these movies aren't good. I mean, but to me, there's no obvious winner.
I think Star Is Born would probably be my pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think my top three that year were A Star Is Born, Black Klansman, and then Green Book.
Yeah.
So those are my actual top three of that year.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. Yeah, but again, like we've said recently with Crash and Green Book, and we said it for something else recently, didn't we? That was another movie that gets like
we did, yeah.
what beat Jerry Maguire?
Jerry Maguire.
What beat Jerry Maguire?
English Patient, English Patient, and
Hmm.
Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, I mean Shakespeare in Love. I don't really defend that one. I don't think that
No,
really even. I mean,
no,
it's got great costume. I think it should be nominated for something, but not Best Picture.
yeah,
Uh, anyway, whatever.
but it,
Saving Private
yeah,
Ryan. Was that?
it beat out Saving Private Ryan.
Whatever. Sorry. Yeah. No, I think they. It's interesting that he went on to have that solo career and found success. I mean, movie 43. Did that win Best Picture?
Well, I think it won Best Makeup. I think it won Best Makeup. I mean, it's that makeup
Hugh
job
Jack,
for Hugh
Hugh
Jackman with the
Jackman.
nuts. When you with yeah, huge jacked man had the balls on his chin.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually think I liked the movie the first time I saw it, but I think I had a little help.
yeah, that's understandable. That's understandable. I was probably similar to you as well. I the first time I watched it, I had a little bit of help and I thought it was hilarious. And then I watched it again, I think in 2020 with Carly, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awful. This is
Yeah.
terrible." But yeah, they've had an interesting career, the Farley brothers. Um, but speaking of interesting, the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie is rather interesting. It's 67%. That's low considering the staying power of this movie, with the consensus being a relentlessly stupid comedy elevated by its main actors. Jim Carrey goes bonkers and Jeff Daniels carries himself admirably in an against type performance. I do not agree with the score. I think this like we always say, comedy and horror, whenever you get in like the 60s, that's a good sign that your movie's probably pretty good. But nonetheless, like this is tragically low.
It's too low. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, it. I you know, I don't know where I'm going to sit. I mean, score that came to mind while I was watching was 88, but I mean, I could see it being. I mean, I think it's a classic comedy that's like holds up very well and is endlessly quotable, and I think that's in a great time, and I think that's what you want with the comedy. So, but
This would be like a 96 for me.
yeah,
Like I just it's a freaking great comedy, man. It's such a great comedy, and it's endlessly quotable, endlessly rewatchable. I'll laugh a minute. It's really hard. You give this comedy to somebody else, is probably not as good. So that's why I am like really big on this movie,
yeah.
being a lot higher. But let's move into some fun facts here. After scamming Seabass to pay the bill, Lloyd says he saw it on a movie. The movie he's speaking of is Something Wild, which came out in 1986, and the guy who pulls the scam is played by Jeff Daniels.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's funny.
That's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I've never seen that movie, so that's pretty great. Uh,
Uh,
According to the Farley brothers, Jeff Daniels wasn't wanted for the film, but Jim Carrey wanted him in it. In order to ensure a no from him, they offered Daniels $50,000 for the role. He accepted it without hesitation, nor did he attempt to negotiate, despite the insistence from his agent that the film would kill his career. By 1994, the film was Daniels' most successful.
got him. It's great. I
Good
mean,
call.
obviously the movie. I mean, he's a huge part of the movie. I'm obviously glad it went that way.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. Um, According to Jeff Daniels, none of the scenes between Jim Carrey and himself were filmed the first week of production because the studio was fully prepared to replace him in the role, even going so far as to have a comedian on standby waiting to take the role. However, after viewing the dailies and the constant insistence from Carrey that a real actor, as opposed to a comedian, play opposite him to ground him, the studio ultimately allowed Daniels to keep the role. Good
See,
call.
the Jim Carrey's he's got it. I mean, that's exactly what we were saying about why it
Mm-hmm.
works.
Yep. He knew.
And it's not that it's not again. It's not that Jeff Daniels was playing the straight man.
No.
He's a nut. Uh,
He's got
but
some of the best
they
scenes in the
balance
movie.
yeah, they balance each other out just really well. ground
Yeah.
each other. It's perfect. I
And that's
mean,
what you need,
Jim
because I think
Carrey's
if you would have
got
put
it figured out so early in his career too.
yeah, very
I
early
mean,
in
I
his
could say
career.
like if he said that in 1999, you'd be like, oh yeah, it's Jim Carrey. He's a pro. He knows what he's doing.
No.
Uh-huh.
But again, like it's you put another comedian actor in there, it might just be like trying to one up each other the entire time,
Mhm.
and it wouldn't flow as well. Jeff Daniels claimed that he was at a golf course one day when Clint Eastwood told him that he had seen the movie. Daniels braced himself for a negative reaction, but to his surprise, Eastwood wanted to tell Daniels that the bathroom scene had happened to him once when he was on a date. Daters later co-starred with Eastwood in the movie Bloodwork, which is a really good movie. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember liking it quite a bit. Um,
That's great. That's funny. I think I've
yeah,
heard Jeff Daniels say that on a talk show before.
that's so cool. Could you imagine like someone like Clint Eastwood coming up to you and telling you like, "Hey, I didn't shit myself like this, but like I had a bathroom accident on a date." Like
That's
that's very
funny.
relatable. That's so cool.
Definitely.
Uh, Jim Carrey was initially offered 70,000, or not 70,000, 700,000 to appear in the film. However, the offer went in the same week when Ace Ventura: Pet Detective opened at number one, which this would mean this movie had a big turnaround because that movie came out in February uh, of that year, and
Yeah.
this movie came out in December of '94. So they had to
Wow.
have a pretty big turnaround. Um, However, when it opened up the number one at the box office, so by the time Carey's agents had renegotiated with the film's producer, his salary had upped itself to 7 million, almost half the film's budget.
Yeah. There's something about this. What did Jeff Daniels make?
50,000,
Yeah.
and Jim Carrey was offered 700,000, and then it went up to 7 million. That's
Wow.
insane. That the pay disparage. Oh my god, the pay gap. That's insane.
Good
Um,
grief.
yeah. When the film went on to top the U.S. box office, it gave Jim Carrey the distinction of being the first actor to have three films go straight to number one in 1 year. The films being The Mask and Ace Ventura.
Hmm.
But cool.
Yeah.
During filming, Jim Carrey stayed the night at the Stanley Hotel and requested to stay in the infamous 217, which is the Shining Room. According to the tour guide at the hotel, about 3 hours after Carrey went in to sleep, he came out running out of the hotel room and left the hotel. To this day, he vowed never to go back and won't tell anybody why. Walker, do you want to plan a trip and go there, stay in that room, and see what happens?
I don't. What do you think he's just like it's a bit for life and he's like this will be funny and it'll get caught on, or do you think he experienced something?
I mean, you asked the religious side of me. I think he saw something, but you asked
Okay.
the cynic in me, and I'm like, okay, that's a bit. But I love to like do stuff like this, to like go to like haunted places and stuff like that to see
Hmm.
like what the deal is. You know,
Did he was the old lady in his bathtub?
I hope not. That would be awful. God, that would be awful. But yeah, one of these days, Walker, I'm going to surprise you with a Christmas gift, and we are going to
Yeah.
go to this room, and we're going to stay in this hotel room, see what happens.
Yeah.
Maybe we could bring Spencer with us or Cody.
Yeah. They'd love it.
I'm sure Spencer would absolutely love it. Um, According to Jim Carrey, Dustin Hoffman called him after the film came out, and he proceeded to tell him he watched it and that he thought it had the most genuine and authentic friendship he had ever seen on film.
That's
I can agree
great.
with it. I mean, friendships are one of those things in movies that like I'm a sucker for because friendship means a lot to me. My friends mean a lot to me. And whenever I see it displayed on in movies in an accurate way, it's always very touching. I think this would be up there. I don't know if it would be number one. I'd actually have to sit down and look before I make like a call on that, but it is very good.
Yeah, I completely agree. They sell it for me. I mean, it's one of the only way it works.
Yeah. Um, when film critic Roger Ebert went to see the film, he wasn't very positive about the movie as a whole, but he did admit that he laughed so loudly that he embarrassed himself during the scene where Billy the blind boy is seen stroking Harry's dead pet bird, Petey.
Yeah, that
I didn't read the full fun fact. I just wanted to get Roger's take on this. That's hilarious. Ebert added that he did not laugh as loudly again or very often, which is fine because if the whole movie had been as funny as that moment, I would have required hospitalization.
that's funny.
Pretty bird. Polly with a cracker? God.
Oh,
Okay, that scene is hysterical. Like it's not in our
yeah,
in our best scenes and moments, but it got cut. But oh my god, it is really freaking
it's
funny.
it is going into it. I was watching this last night, and I hadn't seen this movie in a while, and I knew something like that was about to happen. I couldn't quite remember what happened, and in my head before, you know, how I'm Mr. Sensitive about animals now.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, oh man, this is going to be something that's not funny. I remember it's something about this bird, and I was like, nope, it's still funny. Pretty good. It's pretty
Harry, I took care of it. God, it's so freaking funny. The thing is, Roger Ebert mostly misses with comedies. Just being honest, he's one of my favorite film critics, but he misses often with comedies. He struggles, but that scene, he nailed it. It's really freaking funny.
good.
Um, last fun fact we'll get to is Nicolas Cage and Gary Oldman were uh the original choices for Harry and Lloyd.
Nicholas Cage and Gary. Oh man,
That wouldn't work.
yeah. I mean, that could be its
They're
own
both
thing.
they're both great actors. They're
Yeah.
both Oscar winners. I don't like. I love Nick Cage. I will watch the crappiest movie with Nick Cage. All right, I think that dude's awesome. He
Yeah.
never fails to deliver, even in the worst of movies. But I don't know about this. And Gary Oldman is also one of these scene stealing, scene chewing actors. Is just incredible. But I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting to see, but I don't. It would be a different movie.
Yeah, it's its own thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing their dynamic in a buddy type of movie, whether it's a slapstick or a buddy, whatever. But it'd be interesting to see it.
Yeah, it would certainly be interesting. But let's move on to best scenes and moments. As I said earlier, we limited this to 10. We narrowed this down to 10. It was at 40. It's just so the whole movie's the best scene and moment, you know?
Yeah.
Um, the limo pickup.
It honestly, man, it really kicks the movie off the way you want to. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, right with a bang. I mean, I think it's funny. It kind of tricks you at first. Um, I love the scene where I mean, the whole thing in the limo where he's like I'll put two and two together.
I love the subtle things that he's wrong about. Like the like that's a lovely accent you have there. New Jersey, Austria. Austria. Good day, mate. Like he confuses Australia with Australia.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
So
It's perfect. I
close.
agree.
You know, so off.
It's
Um,
not too far gone.
yeah. So it's just like the little subtlety of changes that makes it like funny. Uh, Lloyd picks up Mary.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess
The music when it kicks in,
Right.
and he's just the stumbling, and then as soon as she closes the door, the
Yeah.
grabbing his chest. and,
Perfect.
and then the squirting of the air freshener, and it goes in the opposite direction. But
Yeah, that's his trademark.
the the thing that also makes this entire scene funny is after he like picks her up and he's trying to have small talk. And again, it's the little things that he's wrong about, but it's also the like awkwardness of how she's clearly doesn't want to talk to him, but he's not picking up on these hints.
Yeah.
Eh,
Right.
I got worms.
That's what we're gonna call
God, it's so
it.
freaking funny. And the little explosion in the background when he turns around to talk to her. I have this cousin, or I had this cousin.
I also love the. I mean, it pays off later. Like they I don't know how to even say this. They film it in such a way that like you can see why he's getting carried away with the interaction and like how he's building it up in his mind bigger than it is. um and like you're rooting for him kind of, but you realize he's overblowing it, but like in your head you're kind of getting into your own Lloyd Christmas where like he's building this thing up, and then I think it pays off so well when he like later in the movie when he knocks on her door and she's like, "Who are you?" it's like that was such a. I mean, he's a crazy person, so she remembered it after he explained it. But like, she's like, "The limo driver." I have no idea. Like, she's everything to him, and she like doesn't even remember he exists.
Yeah,
I think it pays
so
off well.
perfect. Harriet and Lloyd talk about their day after getting fired, and
Yeah,
just
I mean, it's just we hit the ball rolling. I mean, and I was watching this movie yesterday, and I've seen it, and I had a lot to do yesterday, so I was like gonna watch it kind of in passing and like kind of just have it on so I could remember some of it, and it just sucks you right in right off the beginning.
like a tractor
You
beam,
just can't, yeah,
sucked you right in. I can't do that, but like that's one of my favorite bits about this scene. But also like the bit about like him, Lloyd telling Harry they just got fired, and he's like, "Yeah, it sucks." And Harry's
what
very
a
very
loser.
sympathetic, and then Harry just goes, "Yeah, I got let go too." Oh man, you are one pathetic loser, and it's just
Yeah,
like so mean.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, all of this is so funny, and it lets you know like their friendship dynamic too, so perfectly, and their life
It
situation
is.
as well. They're barely making it.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Uh,
also it's like a second thing you might want to run a comb through her. I know the dog part we skipped over, but that was a funny line.
yeah, the man, I'd have to be one low life to go rooting through somebody's property as it rocks
Yeah.
pretty well. uh,
He's like, oh, when he, I mean, we're just gonna do this all day, but
oh
like,
yeah,
he's like,
we're
oh,
gonna
I've got
quote.
a gun. He's like, did you pay the gas bill? And he's like, you realize what you've done? like that would be the first thing they thought of.
Do you realize what you've done? Yeah. Harry and Lloyd break down and make their decision to go to Aspen. Like I think
Where
the
the beer
funny,
flows like wine.
yeah, where the women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. Someplace warm. It's like everything wrong. Again, the subtlety,
Yeah,
everything slightly off. It's close,
yeah. It
but
reminds me of like, have you ever seen the show Trailer Park Boys?
yeah.
Yeah, Ricky in that show does a great job of like saying like little idiotisms incorrectly, but like you could see him mixing it up. He just does it all the time, and it's like the perfect level of like stupid. Where they, I don't know, that
Yeah.
reminds me of it kind of.
Yeah. The funniest part is in this entire scene is it's not the crying bit, which is really funny, and also kind of touching. The right amount of funny and touching with the okay, that's enough, but it's the part where he says, "My parakeet Petey, he's dead. His head fell off. His head fell off." Yeah, he's pretty old.
That is what, yeah, it was pretty old. Then I love it later when he's like, "We've lost our jobs, we can't pay our bills, our pets' heads are falling off."
We gotta get out of this town, man. The truck stop with sea bass.
Yeah, this is we're starting to hit some of the like. There's some scenes, and I do think they're great scenes, and they're going to be on this list. And they're, but like I said earlier, it's not necessarily the best part of the movie. The best part of the movie is this relentless, like every minute, just how funny it is. But there's some scenes that just everybody remembers, and this is we're starting to get in that territory. I mean, we're going to get into like some lines and stuff that are just all time quotable lines, but kick his ass, Seabass. That
Mm-hmm.
whole scene is very.
Feels nice to mingle with these laid back country folk here.
I like it a
I
lot.
like it a lot. Yeah.
It's like there's you how do you can't. I mean, that's Jim Carrey. You can't write that. You can't
No.
write that in the script. Like you're not like, all right, what do we say here? How about he says I like it, and then he says in a weird voice, I like it a lot. Like I mean, that's Jim Carrey. You're not. That's the sauce he's bringing to the movie. Like I mean, it's funny.
I
It's
would never
great.
do anything to offend a man of your size. Yeah. It's in the unrated version, which is the version that I own. You see the loogie being spit on the burger, and it is disgusting, but it's really funny.
It's like you really wimped out back there.
What are you talking about, wimped out, man? Well, that's so funny. Is like he tells him it again, going back to earlier when Lloyd tells him that he got fired for falling off the jetway again, and how they freak out when you leave the scene of an accident. To like having no empathy whatsoever for Harry and just go, "Oh man, you're one pathetic loser." Similar situation here, where like, "Who's the dead man who hit me in the head with a salt shaker?" And Lloyd just pointing and looking away. So like talking shit to him, like he really wimped out back there. Like
Great.
it's just so funny. Yeah, kick his ass, Seabass, all that. All of it's great. Um Lloyd shows up with the hog to redeem himself / the ride to Aspen. All of this is great. The
Uh,
song is iconic, but it's when he pulls up and it kicks and he goes, "Wah!" Makes me laugh. But the get 70 miles to the gallon on this hog.
yeah, I
Priceless.
mean it's great. He's like just when I can't think, just when I think you can't get any dumber, completely
Totally
redeem
redeem
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
Great.
They missed
Just
the
go, man.
yeah. Just go, man. And when
I
they
feel like
stand
that's one that stands out. I mean, it's not like that's my favorite scene in the movie by any stretch, but them on the moped with icicles on their face, just go, man. I feel like that's like one of the most memorable parts for me for some reason.
where they stand up and he's like attached to them.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all of it's great. The trucks lined up behind them
Yeah.
where they're
Another one,
driving.
it's funny we skipped over because I mean, at least chronologically, the I don't think it's that great. I don't think it's one of the best parts at all, but the the cop pulling him over drinking the pee. That I think when I was like 8 was one of the funniest parts in
Yeah.
the movie. Like it was so good. Yeah.
Tic Tac,
And
sir?
it's
Get the hell out of here.
yeah.
Yeah. All of those are great. Um, Samsonite, I was way off.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a very quotable line, I think. I mean, I feel like I hear that 5 times a year.
Yeah. Uh, hang by the bar, put out the vibe. It's everything he when he says that, and then everything he does, like the
Yeah,
sinking into the bar, the doing his
yeah.
hands like this, and then like the sticking his ass out and pulling up his coat,
Check it. Yeah,
yeah, checking himself
that's
out, all of it.
um the I agree, but I do think the line is hilarious too. They put up the vibe.
Yeah. Hang by the bar, put out the vibe. That is something that I say like probably weekly. I'm gonna hang by the bar, put out the vibe, quote it
It's funny.
weekly. Again, the most iconic scene in the movie: Harry unloads on the toilet.
It is the most iconic. It's so fun. I mean, like it really. It's another one that really is memorable. And Jeff Daniels sells. I mean, he's got his legs up in there. It's perfect. And then I'm just shaving.
I'm just gargling. the the bit where he holds his legs up and it's the noise he's making. He's like, oh, it's priceless. But the funniest
Yeah.
bit, and it's when he lets out the squeaker fart, and he just giggles.
Yeah.
that's 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 the best. Uh,
Great.
and the final scene I want to mention here is Lloyd confesses his like for Mary.
Yeah.
What are
Is
the
it?
chances of a guy like you and a girl like me ending up together?
So you're saying there's a chance. That's another one that I hear often.
So you're
Often. It's
telling me
it's
there's a
a go.
chance? Yeah, it's great. Um,
Memorable. Yeah.
I do want to give an honorable mention to the ski day between getting
Yeah.
his tongue stuck on the pole.
That's another iconic part, I think. And in
Mm-hmm.
my head, I thought, is there a movie where the tongue gets stretched like super far?
No, I don't think so. I know there is another pole scene, A Christmas Story, where
A
he gets
Christmas
his.
Story. This is. I mean, like I didn't know if it was like out cold or something, like where like they stretch the tongue and it's like, or is it Scary Movie or something like that, or one of the
I can't
like
remember. I know
I can't remember. I just
I can
remember
place what you're talking about, but I can't.
I was expecting the tongue to be this long, and it wasn't. And again, grounded. It felt. I mean, it was stretched, but
Yeah.
it's a little more
Well,
realistic. I liked it.
the reason I want to mention that scene is because when I watched this movie with my sister Holly, there is a bit. It's the bit where they're throwing the snowballs back and forth, and Harry just decks uh, uh, Mary Swanson in the face with the
Yeah.
snowball, and it's the sound effect. And my sister always laughs so hard that she almost cries every time she watches it. And I always think of her whenever I watch this scene. So I
It's
had to give
great.
a shout out for my sis. But out of all these sequences, man, which one stands out to you as being the best one, the most memorable? And it's very hard to do.
It really is. I mean, and again, we've said it a bunch, and whatever I pick here, we pick. It's not what makes the movie great. What makes the movie great is just the consistency and the all that they bring to the movie and how funny
Mm-hmm.
it is, just line after line. I might just go chalk and say the toilet scene. I mean, I just think it's a cliche pick, but it's great.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Yeah.
It's cliche to pick it, but it's I mean it's cliche for a reason because it might be
Sure.
true. It's so freaking funny, and everything about it, like the lead up, the 1/2 teaspoon for fast, effective relief. And he
Yeah.
pours the entire fucking bottle in there. Like,
Yeah, and then they play the Wizard of Oz theme. That's in topic just because I've just watched Wizard of Oz and Wicked. So
all
it's
right,
like,
going on to worst scenes and moments. I only have one. It's the ending. I don't find it particularly funny. I just find it like headache inducing because it's like I get it. They're dumb and dumber, but this feels like the stretch. This feels
with the
like
girls.
yes.
Yeah,
This
I
feels
don't
like the
know.
stretch to me.
I just think it's. I mean, I don't know. It
Like I
worked for me. I think it's funny.
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. It's funny, but it feels like the stretch for me where it's like, oh my god, these morons. It's just it
Yeah.
it fits, but it always annoys me.
Um. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have anything. I mean, maybe the March 25th 2:15 sharp in the bathroom was kind of just okay. I mean, the foot on fire kind of played into it well, but like the rest of it, I wasn't that. I didn't think was very funny. Um.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. I think for me it's the ending, and for you it's the bathroom. Okay, fair enough. Best performance, Jim Carrey.
Yeah, it is, and obviously you got a close second there, but Jim Carrey. I mean, he's a superstar.
Yeah. Does this make sense? Award. What was Lloyd's next move if the Australian woman was into him?
He probably would have just been like, never mind.
Yeah.
He's not equipped for that.
Yeah, I didn't think this through.
Yeah,
Um, was airport security in the '90s just very lax?
I think in comedy movies it was. In all movies,
Yeah,
I used to always not really understand. Like there, I mean, I guess I just don't remember airports before 9/11 really,
I don't
because I
either.
was too young. But I mean, but it was always like there was always like scenes in movies where they were like at the gate waving goodbye and stuff like that, and it was like, could you do that? Could you go through to the gate without a ticket if you weren't getting on the plane?
Yeah, that
And obviously
makes no sense.
um the stop them before they get to the on the plane or whatever. But I guess sometimes they buy a ticket.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm only a driver. My favorite bit about that entire is like I fell off the jetway again.
I
Like
do too. Me too.
again.
That was laugh out loud for me. That
Yeah.
was laugh out loud. Fell off the jetway again, Lloyd or Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Again? This has happened before. Um, why would Helen, Mary's stepmother, set her up on a date with another man?
I don't know. I mean, that's a moment that I mean, unless she just knows that she hates the guy. I don't. I mean,
I didn't get that impression.
yeah, I didn't either. But I noticed this and thought the same thing.
Yeah. Maybe she's just trying to get her mind off of what was going on, make her have fun, and assume
Mm-hmm.
this guy knew who she was and knew she was married, but
Yeah. Maybe she's just
maybe not.
drunk.
I don't know. Maybe yeah. I got that impression in the scene. The tuxedo's fabulous. When Nicholas tries to shoot Lloyd, the gun is positioned to be out of ammo. Did you notice that? Like, have you
No.
ever seen like a gun when it's clipped back?
Yeah. I didn't notice it though.
The
No.
the barrel is back, and you have the yeah. So
Got it.
I noticed that, and then it goes back again. It's not a does this make sense, but it's just something that I noticed. There's
Yeah.
also like something reused in a different bit, like after the introduction of the crows or not the crows, but the owls
Mm-hmm.
when they come into the party. Um, they go back to that again with the keep a close eye on these people. So it's edited into that bit when really it should have been at the front of it. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Notice that as well. Just a little tidbit. The police and FBI story doesn't make any sense.
No. What do they say?
they've been following them since Providence.
Uh, yeah.
So before the rat poison bit, I think. And like
I see. Okay.
they set up like a road stop and they get off, which makes sense because they go to a different state because he makes the wrong turn. That John
Mm-hmm.
Denver's full of shit, man. Um,
Yeah.
One of the funniest lines, but like none of it makes any sense or adds up. You can't really think about it too hard.
Yeah, that does. Okay, that might get the award for me. It does kind of fall apart there. It doesn't really make
Well, the
sense. I mean,
movie's
the
not
other one
asking
would
you to
sure.
think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the yeah, but we got the list here. I mean, either that or the stepmother thing, but I could just say she was drunk and being silly.
Yeah. Most of these you can say that for, but I think I'm in agreement. The police and FBI story doesn't make any sense at all. MVP, it's Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Jim Carrey again. I mean, I just think
Wow.
he runs the show, and I think he had a lot to do with and Joe Daniels is great. I mean, I've tried to give his kudos every single time, but Jim Carrey, I just think he's. I feel like when you think of it, you think of Jim Carrey, and you're like, oh, and Jeff Daniels is great too. You know what I mean? But Jim Carrey's like just my guy in this movie. I think he's so funny. But Jeff Daniels is huge, and I'm glad one
Well,
of us picked him.
the reason I give it to Jeff Daniels is because Jim Carrey is so good because of the whole yes and bit of it all.
Yeah,
Him being the perfect scene partner for Jim Carrey and also having some of the funniest laughs in the movie as well. Um, so
I
that's
agree.
that's why I give him the MVP. But at the end of the day, Walker, why would you recommend this movie?
I mean, it's great. It's so funny. It's endlessly quotable. I know I've said these things over and over again, but there's a reason. I mean, it holds up. It's still funny. I tried to watch it in passing because I've seen it a bunch. I couldn't. It just pulled me in, and I was laughing out loud. And there's so many things we didn't say. I mean, just for the sake of time, we could have just quoted it the entire show. It's hysterical. Two
Yeah.
great leads that work really well of each other's, directed well. It's funny script, but the secret sauce are the two stars, Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey, and they make a movie that'll be funny forever, as far as I'm concerned.
I could not have said it better. It's a laugh a minute. It still holds up. It's so goofy and it's also again earnest, and I think that's what it never crosses the line of being just stupid for stupid's sake. It feels like genuine, and it is genuinely funny. And you got two actors at the top of their power working at a level that really helps elevate the other. And I think that's why it works so well, and that's why I would recommend it. It's my favorite comedy of all time. You and I went back and forth on should we discuss a Christmas movie or should we really talk about Dumb and Dumber? And you and I ended up being on the page of listen, it's Christmas, it's the Christmas season, we love Christmas, but Dumb and Dumber is the move here because it's the 30th anniversary, and Jim Carrey is also starring in a movie coming out this month as well in Sonic 3. So, yeah, it's a great movie.
I agree. You got anything else for us?
No, man, I am all tapped out, as I always say at the end of our shows.
Well, that does it for the year for us. Another good year in the books. We hope everybody listening, thank you so much. We hope you have a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. We can't wait to come back and give you more content next year. We got a big year next year, both of us. So we'll try to give you some updates soon. But thank you for listening. If you're hearing this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for watching and for catching us on YouTube. Be sure to comment down below. What's your favorite Farley Brothers movie? What's your favorite Jim Carrey movie? Do you like Dumb and Dumber? What about the 1994 trio of comedies? And who was the MVP of the movie? But with that said, this has been Ben and Walker, and we'll see you next time.